The illusion of enmity, a Machiavellian analysis of modern geopolitics. To govern is to deceive, to manipulate, and to control. This has been the cornerstone of political power since time immemorial, a timeless truth understood by every ruler who has sought to maintain authority over the masses. As Machiavelli once noted, the promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. Today, at the highest echelons of global power, the US, China, and Russia are not genuine enemies. They are, in fact, co-conspirators in a grand illusion, a political theater designed to divide, control, and exploit their respective populations. History is replete with examples of the cunning use of perceived enmity to maintain internal control and manipulate external perception. Consider the rivalry between Rome and Carthage in the Punic Wars. The Roman Senate continuously stoked fear of the Carthaginian threat, not merely to counter the ambitions of Hannibal, but to consolidate power at home, rally the populace, and justify expanding Rome's military might across the Mediterranean. The people of Rome, like any population, needed an external enemy to focus their anxieties and insecurities upon, lest they turn their gaze inward and question the power of their rulers. Fast forward to the 20th century. The Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union serves as a quintessential example of manufactured urgency. Both superpowers perpetuated the illusion of an apocalyptic struggle, convincing their populations that their very survival depended on unwavering support for their respective governments. In reality, both sides understood that the mere perception of an existential threat served as the most potent tool to maintain control over their citizens. The nuclear arms race was less a contest for global dominance and more a carefully choreographed dance, with each side playing the role assigned to it by a higher order. A cabal that understood the fundamental truth of politics. Fear and urgency are the most effective means of mass manipulation. Today, the same tactics are being used by the leaders of the US, China, and Russia, who maintain the illusion of conflict to achieve their own ends. For what is politics, if not the art of creating demand where none exists? The modern politician is no different from the merchants of old, who created the illusion of scarcity to inflate the price of their wares. They manufacture crises, real or imagined, to justify their actions, rally their populations, and suppress dissent. And like all good merchants, they know the value of a middleman. Enter NATO, the ever-enthusiastic salesman, ready to fan the flames of conflict and sell the need for security to the highest bidder. The result is a world perpetually on the brink of disaster, where every move, every diplomatic gesture, is calculated to sustain the illusion of impending conflict. Each missile test, each military exercise, each diplomatic spat is a page from the same playbook. A playbook written by those who understand that the perception of conflict is far more valuable than the conflict itself. As Machiavelli might observe, a wise prince must always appear prepared for war, not necessarily to fight, but to keep his people united and his rivals off balance. Consider the ongoing dance in the South China Sea. The US projects its naval power under the guise of freedom of navigation, while China fortifies artificial islands in a show of defiance. Meanwhile, Russia engages in its military maneuvers, flexing its muscles in Eastern Europe. To the untrained eye, these are signs of an imminent clash of titans. But to those who see the world through a Machiavellian lens, it is a carefully staged act, a balancing of forces that keeps all parties exactly where they wish to be, powerful, necessary, and above all, in control. But what of the military-industrial complex, that ever-hungry beast that profits from the spoils of manufactured conflict? This too is a page from history. Recall the Medici of Florence, who invested heavily in the manufacture of arms, not only to supply their own mercenary forces, but to sell weapons to all sides in any conflict that arose. The Medici understood that true power comes not from fighting wars, but from ensuring that wars are fought endlessly by others, all while they profited from both sides. Today's military-industrial complex has perfected this strategy. By ensuring a constant state of tension, they guarantee the demand for their products. Whether it be aircraft carriers for the Pacific, missile defense systems for Eastern Europe, or cyber defenses for the invisible battlegrounds of tomorrow. Politicians willingly comply, manufacturing the need through rhetoric, speeches, and policy, all while knowing that the machine they serve benefits from a state of perpetual fear. And who pays the ultimate price? It is the global population, the ever-exploited pawns in this grand game of chess. Like the citizens of Renaissance Florence or Imperial Rome, they are led to believe they are defending their nation, their freedom, their very way of life. In reality, they are mere commodities in the hands of a ruling cabal, a faceless entity that profits not from the outcome of war, but from its very existence. Machiavelli, in his wisdom, understood that the appearance of virtue was often more important than virtue itself. So it is with modern geopolitics. The appearance of conflict, more important than conflict itself, maintains the status quo. It allows the powerful to remain powerful, the merchants of war to keep selling, and the populations to remain ever obedient, ever fearful, and ever unaware of the game being played above their heads. Thus, let us recognize the true nature of the game. A game not of nations, but of narratives, not of enemies, but of allies playing at enmity. The winners are those who control the illusion. The losers are those who believe it. In the end, as always, the prince rules by deception, and the people, blissfully unaware, remain his loyal subjects, believing the lie because it is easier than confronting the truth.